Welcome to Let's Talk Money Honey, the podcast where we break down the world of investing and wealth building for women who are ready to control their financial futures. We're your hosts, Elise Levy of Legacy Wealth Planning
and Holly Henry of Diamond Legacy Wealth Management. We're two financial advisors on a mission to empower and educate women so they can build confidence, work towards growing their wealth, and pursue their biggest investment goals. Investing isn't just for Wall Street, it's for you. Whether you're just getting started or looking to level up your portfolio, we're here to make investing approachable, fun, and totally doable. So grab your coffee
or your wine and let's talk money, honey. Welcome to Let's Talk Money Honey, the podcast where we talk about all things finance for women and really for anyone wanting to broaden their education. So we're kicking off our Decades series where we're going to give helpful tips for each decade of your life. And which decade are we starting with today, Holly?
We're going to be starting with the teenage years. And we find that it's so important to speak to teenagers because one thing that we have found about is finances really just aren't taught in school the way that we feel like it should. I'm lucky enough that one of the local schools allows me to go in and speak to the high schoolers. And so I start with the very basics. And I feel like it's things that every teenager needs to know as they go into adulthood, because I always say we're not raising kids, we're raising young men and women, and so we want them to succeed as soon as they get off of or out of high school.
Holly, you didn't silence your cell phone?
I didn't, and you know what? He knew I was in a meeting, and I'm going to call him out. Here he is calling me, so it is now silenced.
No, but I think exactly what you're saying, and I think this video can be for parents who kind of want to know what to talk to their kids about and maybe educate their kids on, but it also can be for teens themselves to watch on their own. So the very first thing I think we should go to is opening a checking account for your kid. So I know my dad got me one when I was about 14, and I think at that age you do need a parent to go with you, but that's a great start to a financial journey and realizing what a checking account is, what a savings account is, getting a debit card. I'd suggest starting with a debit card. I wouldn't give my teenager a credit card right off the bat.
Right, but you know, I think it's so important to teach your kids how to balance checkbooks, but at least I think we're aging ourselves. Like,
I know, I said that to a client and they're like, no one does that anymore.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's now Cash App, it's Venmo. I mean, it's all of that. But at the end of the day, I think it's like, or even the green light, which is something that I've looked at for my kids because it shows them like how to balance. And my daughter is going to be 13 this December, so this is already a conversation that she's approached, wanting to know when she can have Venmo. And, you know, it's important for us to teach them how to use money. And while I'm a huge advocate of saying, here's $20, go spend it wisely, the grand scheme of things, that's not good enough. These kids have got to have like some sort of allowance and know that when they spend that debit card, money comes out. It doesn't automatically just get refilled.
Absolutely. So maybe starting with what is a budget, and you know, maybe it's not in the checkbook format, maybe it's Excel or one of these many apps that are available and out there, but looking at the money coming in, your income, so whether that's allowance or a summer job, and then your expenses, money going out, and looking at those numbers every month and getting used to that practice. I think if all of us had started budgeting and understanding our cash flow when we were in our teens, how different our lives would be, Holly.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I will tell you that it's funny, this past week when I was at Focus, I spoke with a financial advisor who said that he's teaching his child hardcore, like how to budget, and they bought a vehicle and he's responsible for paying a portion of it. And so his dad actually paid for the vehicle and the child has to make payments to his dad And his dad's actually putting that money into an account for him, and he'll get it upon graduation. But it's like the child's having to learn right off the bat, you've got to get a part-time job. You've got to be responsible with this money. You've got to take a portion of that money and invest it, a portion of it to tithe if that's what's important to you. Like, these are conversations that you start having now when they're 15, 16, 17, a senior in high school. You don't wait till they're in their 20s and they've got the first-time job.
Absolutely. And like exactly what you're saying, embracing those smart earning habits and giving them real life, practical life skills of how to manage that money that they're making, and how to save for things. So whether it's a car or, you know, a senior trip with friends, having them have a real stake in it and having a portion they need to save, I think is such a great thing to do with teenagers as they're getting and moving into adulthood. Because, you know, they're going to go off to college and be completely on their own. So you'd hope they'd have some skills at that moment. So talking about summer jobs, I think we need to bring up our favorite account.
Absolutely. So we are going to talk just a little bit about a Roth IRA. And I will say that I've talked to several of my clients about this summer that have teenage kids, and have encouraged them to even match a portion of what their kids have made. So as long as you are only putting into the Roth IRA, has to be earned wages. So basically, if this teenager is not working, we cannot open a Roth IRA. But the reason why it's normally good for teenagers is you're talking the money is going in while they're in a low tax bracket. So it's after tax. Then it's going to grow tax deferred. And then when they get to retirement, they're going to be able to pull out all that money tax free. And so we have Roth IRAs that we can open for them. If the child is just not even wanting to put any money back for retirement, it just seems too far away, we also have UTMAs that are just good accounts for kids to open. The parent can be the custodian until they turn, in my state, it's 21. Is it 21 for yours?
You know, it varies, so I'm not going to quote an exact date.
Okay. Okay.
I think here we can pick what age is maturity.
Okay.
So, but we usually go with 21.
Okay. And anyway, so these are good accounts just to be setting some money back. And a lot of people are just timid to be not open these accounts because they feel like it should take a lot of money. But really, these accounts, I mean, even starting off with $100, it can eventually just add up if you continue.
Absolutely. And I think like the Roth IRA is so cool because it doesn't necessarily have to be for retirement. A big one that we see is, you know, these accounts that got funded pretty young. That can be a source of a down payment later on, because any money you put in, your contributions, you're allowed to take that out at any time. So it's pretty flexible and really is a great nest egg for your kid's future, no matter what that looks like. So I think that's a great account. UTMAs are great accounts. These are all kind of in the custodial account world. So until your child's over the age of maturity, you'll be a custodian on the account. They can't just run wild with it, which is good, having a little guidance and a little say. But I think that kind of opens the door for what is a parent's role in financial education? What should they be talking about with their kids? I think we really encourage with our clients really open communication. One thing I saw at a presentation actually this week was parents who have a lot of debt are often there's a lot of shame built around it, and they actually don't share a lot with their kids about the financial choices they've made, which can actually spur the children to make the same exact financial choices. So I think just transparency and openness with how the household finances work is really beneficial to the next generation.
100%. And I think it's important for parents to sit down and talk about financial goals. Whether it's we're going to start saving for a new vehicle or college, or even let's put money back for the first apartment or the first home. I mean, if you think about it, from at the time a child is 17 till there's 27, so 1 decade, there's a lot of financial decisions coming their way. And so it's time to just start these conversations decently early on so they are prepared for those decisions when they come.
Absolutely. And I think, like, you know, the truth of the matter is college is so expensive these days. And depending on whether you go to a state school or a private school, the prices really fluctuate. And student loans are no joke. And I think a lot of 18-year-olds going off to college have no idea what they're really signing up for. And then we see them much later in life, and they walk in with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans. And I think if they had maybe had more conversations early on and really understood, that could have been something that maybe not completely gone, but maybe have gone a different route, maybe have done junior college for 2 years and then gone to a state school, or turns out trade school was maybe a better option. So I think having these conversations now really is a lifetime impact, because who knows how it's going to affect the next 50 years of your life.
Absolutely, and I also think it's important that teenagers have just a couple bills that they need to be responsible for paying. You don't want to just set them out in college and say, okay, now everything's on you. They've got to have some experience in this, whether it's something small like a phone bill, or just even basically like what you were saying, some of the school expenses. Kids have a habit of just not... Obviously, how can they understand the value of money if we're not teaching them how expensive? Yes. And so, I mean, I can tell you right now, my daughter's like, I don't understand why I can't buy 5 Lululemon outfits, because she's got no concept that this is expensive. Yeah. And it's something that we are truly having to work on. And it's not fun, but these conversations, again, they have to start early on. And with that, one of the conversations that I feel like every parent needs to have and start drilling in their head as teenagers is, we don't need to be keeping up with the Joneses, for lack of a better term. You know, it's you've got to be financially responsible. Don't go out and buy the latest cell phone. Don't go out and take a huge car payment just to keep up with whoever's in your class. And I feel like as teenagers, that's very, very easy to do. And especially the teenagers that I'm around, it's the latest and greatest shoes or cologne or whatever it is, and whatever money they have is just completely blown. So it's important to really just kind of talk to them about savings just early on.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a hard concept. I feel like I'm still having that conversation with myself in my 30s.
Right? It is so easy to just go, well, I've got this $400. You know, especially for teenagers, that's a lot of money. They're like, yeah, I could go buy a new pair of shoes and be happy forever.
Except my old shoes are good enough.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I think all these are great tools, and like any progress and conversation you can have with your teen now is just going to help them in the next decade of their life, their 20s, which is really such an influential time and can really make it or break it for a lot of people. But Holly, as we wrap up, is there anything else you really want to like just hit home, make sure we cover?
No, I think the one thing that I just want to reiterate is there are a lot of financial advisors that they have minimums on the amount of money that they're going to work with you on. We are very open about working from ground zero with teenagers and children. We want to make sure that these kids start off on the right path. So we're here. Use this as a resource. Ask questions. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. And make sure to tune into our other episodes. We cover really narrow specific topics, as specific as Roth IRAs. We have a whole video on them, as we discussed. And also broader, we do a whole career series where we highlight different careers, different stages of life. So check it out. Great resource, and reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.